The new year has just started. How did you spend your New Year's Eve? Did you celebrate with family, friends, or a special someone? Or did you prefer some quiet time on your own? There are some people out there who make a living by being someone's companion. Every year, they spend New Year's Eve with different people and get paid for it. Step into T.C channel, where every brain-bending mystery unfolds, one clue at a time. Don't just watch, subscribe now and challenge yourself to crack the case. On January 1st, 2015, in southern Australia, a shocking incident took place at a hotel in downtown Adelaide, capturing the attention of many. At 7 a.m., Mr. Xian arrived at the hotel, planning to pick up his friend, Fang Ting, and take her to the airport. He called her, but there was no answer. Worried about the delay, he decided to use the room key Fang Ting had left him, and went up to the 12th floor. As he opened the door, he heard water running inside. He thought she might be taking a shower. Not wanting to disturb her, he waited outside the door for a few minutes. A little later, he asked the front desk to call Fang Ting, but again, there was no answer. Something didn't feel right. So, he went back to the 12th floor, and opened the door again. What he found inside left him stunned. The room was dark, the curtains were drawn, and when he turned on the lights, he saw the room was in disarray. The mattress had been shifted, and a woman was lying on the floor. Her clothes were out of place, and her face was covered with a towel. He lifted the towel, and it was Fang Ting. She appeared injured, with marks on her neck and elsewhere. Meanwhile, the hotel manager was investigating a complaint about a leak in the ceiling. He came to check it out, and accidentally stumbled upon the scene. The manager went into the bathroom, and found the cause of the leak. The bathtub had overflowed, and Fang Ting's phone, which she always used, was lying in the water. In the sink, there were wet wipes with some suspicious stains on them. How did all of this happen? It's still a mystery. The truth behind this case is yet to be uncovered. After receiving the report, Detective Damien from the homicide unit rushed to the scene. The victim was Fang Ting, a 25-year-old woman from Asia. She came to Australia in 2007 at the age of 17 to study in Sydney. Unlike many international students, Fang Ting didn't come from a wealthy family. Her father drove a taxi, and her mother worked in a factory. To cover her tuition, Fang Ting worked part-time at a beauty salon. Her friends described her as hardworking, friendly, and down-to-earth. No one expected something so tragic to happen to her. What's even more surprising is that the crime occurred in Adelaide, over 1,400 kilometers from where she studied. Looking through the case files, Detective Damien found that Fang Ting had made 8 trips to Adelaide over the last 18 months. Why would she make such frequent visits to a place so far away? At the scene, Fang Ting was found wearing black leggings, a pink long-sleeve shirt, and a t-shirt. She weighed about 48 kilograms. Her body had several wounds, with the most serious being a deep cut to her neck, likely from a severed artery, causing massive blood loss. Along with the knife wound, Detective Damien also noticed 2 crescent-shaped marks on her head, possibly from being struck by something sharp. Further investigation revealed matching marks on her high heels, indicating she might have been struck in the head with one of her shoes. On the bottom of one of the heels, the police found a fingerprint. After testing, it was clear the print didn't belong to Fang Ting. The position of the fingerprint suggested someone had held the shoe to hit her. This made the person who left the print a prime suspect. However, when the police checked their database, they couldn't match the fingerprint to anyone. Although plenty of evidence was gathered, none of it led directly to the killer. The full truth of the case still needs more investigation to uncover. Officer Damien started questioning Mr. Xian, the first person to witness what happened. As a friend of Fang Ting, his account could help piece together her social life. During the conversation, Officer Damien was taken aback to learn that their relationship wasn't just a friendship, but more like a business partnership. The mystery behind Fang Ting's frequent trips to Adelaide was soon solved. It turned out that working at the beauty salon wasn't her only side job. She had found a quicker and easier way to make money. She started working as an escort. She would spend time with wealthy clients, taking them around the city, and offering companionship. Her visit to Adelaide was planned for New Year's Eve with a client. She arrived on December 29th, and over the next 3 days, she attended to 16 clients, Mr. Xian was the contact for Fang Ting's work, handling her pickups and drop-offs, and taking a cut of her earnings. Once Officer Damien learned this, he began to form a new theory. It's known that Fang Ting was found dead in her hotel room, with no signs of forced entry, and the hotel had excellent security. This pointed to the conclusion that Fang Ting wasn't killed by a stranger, but someone she knew. However, Adelaide was an unfamiliar city for Fang Ting, and she had no family or close friends there. Her only connections were her clients. So, the police now suspect that the killer could be one of the 16 clients she had met during her stay. At this point, the investigation had a breakthrough. The phone that was found in the bathtub, damaged by water, was fixed and still worked. The chat history was intact, and with over 1,000 messages, Officer Damien was able to piece together Fang Ting's movements during her stay in Adelaide. One particular male guest stood out to the police. His name was Park Song-kwang, 29 years old, and from the same country as Fang Ting. He moved to Australia in 2010 and married a local woman. He caught the police's attention because he was the last person Fang Ting saw. From the chat logs, Officer Damien learned about their interaction. On December 31, 2014, at 10 p.m., Park Song-kwang arrived at the hotel, right on time. He and Fang Ting had a friendly chat, and at 10:40 p.m., Fang Ting messaged Mr. Xian, saying that Park wanted to extend the time by another hour. After Mr. Xian agreed, a few minutes later, she messaged again, saying that Park was offering more money to stay the night. When Mr. Xian saw this, he was happy, because the usual rate was $1,500, but this time Park was paying an extra $600. So, Park Song-kwang became the last guest Fang Ting served. The next morning, around 7 a.m., when Mr. Xian showed up at the hotel, he found that Fang Ting had passed away. Based on the timeline, Park Song-kwang was the most suspicious person. But there was a clue at the scene. In the bathroom sink, a lot of wet wipes were found, with an unknown substance on them. The test confirmed that there was DNA from multiple men. If we follow the timeline, the last guest should be the main suspect. So why were there traces of multiple men in the sink? The officer reviewed the backgrounds of the 16 guests who had visited Fang Ting, and examined the hotel's surveillance footage. He quickly ruled out the possibility that they had collaborated. These 16 guests were strangers to each other, and there was no known connection between them. They all made their appointments through Mr. Xian. Footage from the hallway showed that none of these guests were in Fang Ting's room at the same time. However, when Officer Damien investigated Park Jong-wang's background, he uncovered something unexpected. Fang Ting's phone records revealed that Park Jong-wang had easily paid $2,100, which suggested he might be financially comfortable. But upon closer inspection, it turned out that he was in financial distress, struggling to pay off significant debts. Outwardly, Park Jong-wang seemed to have a stable life. He was married with a young son, and he ran a cleaning business. But in reality, he had developed a gambling habit, which had drained all his savings. Recently, he had sold his car for $8,000, and he was under pressure from creditors. Just 40 minutes before meeting Fang Ting, he had received a debt collection message on his phone. Despite being financially strapped, he still went to meet Fang Ting, offering $2,100 for the night. This raised some questions for Officer Damien. Was Park Jong-wang genuinely seeking companionship, or was he simply pretending to have money? Something didn't seem right. The forensic team found no trace of Park Jong-wang's DNA in the bathroom trash, nor on the wet wipes in the shower. This suggested that, aside from conversation, there was no physical interaction between them that night. While reviewing Fang Ting's chat history, Officer Damien made an unexpected discovery. Park Jong-wang was physically unable. This increased Officer Damien's suspicions. A man who couldn't meet his own physical needs, paying extra for a late-night meeting, was likely not doing it for personal satisfaction. Officer Damien speculated that Park Jong-wang's true motive was to find a way to resolve his growing gambling debt. Fang Ting had earned around $8,000 from clients over the past few days, but only $4,000 was found at the scene. Mr. Xian had already confirmed that he had not received a commission from Fang Ting. So, where did the other $4,000 go? Slowly, Officer Damien started to piece everything together. It became clear that Park Jong-wang's real purpose in meeting Fang Ting was not what it seemed. If he had simply paid and left, the next guest would have soon noticed something was wrong. His overnight booking was a cover, and his true intention appeared to be stealing money to settle his gambling debts. After the police developed strong suspicions about Park Jong-kwang, they arrested him without hesitation. When they searched him, Officer Damien found $1,250 in his pocket, despite Park Jong-kwang claiming he had no money. Park Jong-kwang denied any involvement in the crime, saying someone else had seen Fang Ting after he left. However, hotel security footage showed that no one else entered the room from the moment Park Jong-kwang left until the next morning when the crime was discovered. Officer Damien then compared Park Jong-kwang's fingerprints to those found on a high-heeled shoe at the scene, and the match was undeniable. This explained why Officer Damien had missed identifying the suspect at first. Park Jong-kwang was an Australian. Meanwhile, investigators found new evidence in a white Volkswagen that Park Jong-kwang had been trying to sell. In the driver's side door, officers found several razor blades in a pocket, which were consistent with those found at the crime scene. Next to the blades, they found a handkerchief dated December 5th, issued by a local cleaning supplies company. The matching evidence, including tools and fingerprints, made the case even clearer. Even though Park Jong-kwang refused to confess, the evidence was overwhelming. Officer Damien pieced together what happened. Struggling with financial issues, Park Jong-kwang targeted escort women for easy money. These women were often living on the edge of society, with uncertain sources of income, and they mostly worked for cash, which made them easy to reach. Fang Ting became his target. That night, he used the excuse of hiring an escort to try and take the money she earned. When Fang Ting resisted, Park Jong-kwang became aggressive. Her resistance caused the mattress to move. Unfortunately, Fang Ting passed away during the incident. To cover his tracks, Park Jong-kwang disposed of used tissue and Fang Ting's phone in the sink. He then fled the scene. But there was no escaping the evidence. Hotel surveillance clearly documented his movements, leaving no doubt about his involvement. Park Jong-kwang was arrested soon after. Officer Damien charged him with the crime. On August 16, 2016, Park finally learned his fate. Because the crime was so severe, and the impact on society was huge, he was sentenced to life in prison. He was also banned from driving for the next 25 years. What should have been a night of celebration, New Year's Eve, became the tragic end of a woman chasing her dreams from across the ocean. What are your thoughts on this case? Leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. This case reveals a bigger issue in society. Money, power, desire, and vanity can push people to ignore basic moral lines, leading them to make decisions they can't take back. But this isn't just the story of one person. It's a reminder for all of us. When we're chasing our dreams and building our lives, we need to stay alert and respect the lives and dignity of others. Every choice we make impacts not only our own lives, but those around us too. But there's an even deeper lesson here, especially for young women facing tough decisions about how to make a living. Fang Ting worked in a job that's often misunderstood by society, but that doesn't mean her decision was an easy one. Like many young women, she may have turned to this path, hoping for a better life and a brighter future. But what led them down this road? Was it family pressure? Society's expectations? Or was it the desire to reach their dreams? No matter the reason, these women often find themselves facing tough moral and safety challenges while trying to achieve what they want. Park Jong-kwang's actions are shocking, but they also open up a larger discussion. For these women, the choice might seem like a quick way to earn money, but in reality, it's often filled with risks and dangers they can't predict. And those dangers, they don't always show up when they're making their decisions. This case isn't just about one extreme example. It pushes us to think about the choices everyone makes when dealing with financial pressure. For young women in difficult situations, how can we help? This isn't just about individual choices. It's a societal issue. Can we offer more education, job training, or even emotional support? These are questions we all need to consider.